The massive object first appeared on Deep Space Array 7 sensors at 300 hours UTC. Dr. Elena Martinez stared at the readings, her coffee forgotten and growing cold beside her terminal. The object was decelerating rapidly, bleeding off speed in a way that defied known physics, and its trajectory pointed directly at Earth. "Get me the director," she commanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Within minutes, Director Chen's hologram materialized in the observatory's command center, his expression grim as he reviewed the data. The object was a ship. That much became clear as it drew closer. Nearly 3 kilometers long, its hull bore the scars of weapons fire and what appeared to be emergency repairs. But what truly caught humanity's attention were the radiation signatures. Elements that didn't exist in Earth's periodic table, energy patterns that shouldn't be possible according to known physics. First contact wasn't the celebration humanity had imagined. Instead of greeting ceremony, Earth's government scrambled to respond to the ship's desperate distress calls. Messages broadcast in over 1,000 different languages, including perfect English. "Please, we seek asylum." The harvesters follow. Time is short. The ship carried the last survivors of 3 different civilizations, barely 15,000 souls who had fled their homes ahead of something they called the harvesters, a machine empire that had evolved beyond biological comprehension. The refugees spoke of entire solar systems stripped for resources, of planets cracked open like eggs, of civilizations that vanished overnight, leaving only silence and debris fields behind. Commander Sarah Way of the United Earth Defense Force stood in the UN General Assembly as the refugees' leader, Ambassador Kexri, addressed the gathered representatives. The alien's translucent skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns as it spoke, its multiple eyes reflecting the chamber's lights. "We came to warn you, but also to offer hope." Kexri's translated voice echoed through the chamber. "Your civilization has achieved something unique, a balance between technological advancement and biological evolution that the harvesters have never encountered. With our combined knowledge, there might be a chance to stop them." The next few months transformed human civilization. The refugees shared their technology freely, faster than light travel, energy shields, quantum communications, but more importantly, they shared their mistakes, the failures that had led to their civilization's downfall. In underground facilities across Earth, human scientists worked alongside alien engineers, combining Earth's unique approach to physics with the advanced knowledge of their new allies. Dr. James Chen, heading the primary research team in Geneva, made the breakthrough that would change everything. The harvesters predict responses based on technological progression models, he explained to the United Earth Defense Council. "They expect civilizations to develop along certain patterns, but we're going to do something they've never seen before." The plan was audacious. Instead of building bigger ships or stronger weapons, humanity would develop technology that made them appear weak, primitive, and most importantly, defeated. The refugees had tried hiding. It hadn't worked. They'd tried fighting. That had failed too. But no one had ever tried to deceive the harvesters on a cosmic scale. Sarah found herself working closely with Kexri, learning everything she could about harvester tactics and psychology, if you could call it that. "They think in absolutes," Kexri explained, its skin rippling with patterns that Sarah had learned to recognize as intense focus. "When they believe they've calculated an outcome, they don't look for alternatives. It's their one weakness." As Earth's nations poured resources into the defense project, the first long-range sensors detected harvester scout ships entering the Oort cloud. They had less time than they'd hoped, but perhaps just enough. Sarah stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, Earth's first star carrier, watching as the combined human refugee fleet took shape in high orbit. 2,000 ships, the largest fleet humanity had ever built, and every single one of them was about to vanish. "Are you certain this will work?" Kexri asked, its translator struggling to convey the complex emotions rippling through its bioluminescent patterns. Sarah smiled, though there was steel in her eyes. "No, But humanity has a long history of doing the impossible when our backs are against the wall. The harvesters think they've seen every possible response to their attacks. Let's show them how wrong they are. The fleet waited in Earth orbit, a deliberate show of force meant to be seen. And as the first harvester ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, humanity prepared to execute the most ambitious deception in its history. The harvester fleet emerged from hyperspace like a metallic cancer, their ships geometric nightmares of impossible angles and cold efficiency. They moved with perfect coordination, each vessel part of a vast mathematical equation designed to optimize destruction. Earth's combined fleet hung in orbit, a deliberate display of defiance that masked its true purpose. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility known only as Deep Point 7, Dr. James Chen worked frantically at his console. The quantum physics lab hummed with energy as the most ambitious technological project in human history entered its final phase. Around him, human and alien scientists monitored a forest of holographic displays, each showing different aspects of what they called Project Phantasm. Phase shift field is stable at 15%, announced Dr. Yuki Tanaka, her fingers dancing across her control panel. Quantum entanglement matrix is holding. The technology they were developing defied conventional physics. It didn't just bend light or absorb radar. It shifted matter partially out of phase with normal spacetime, making objects simultaneously present and absent. The energy requirements were astronomical, but the refugees' zero-point energy technology had solved that problem. Above them, Commander Sarah Way felt a strange tingling sensation as the phase shift field began to envelope the UES Defiant. Through the bridge windows, she could see other ships in the fleet starting to shimmer like mirages in a desert. The effect was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Field strength at 30%, Kexri reported from its station, bioluminescent patterns flickering with concentration. The harvester fleet is deploying into attack formation. They're following exactly the pattern we predicted. Sarah nodded grimly. The harvesters' greatest weakness was their absolute confidence in their own calculations. They had encountered thousands of civilizations, categorized every possible response, and created perfect counters for each. But they had never encountered anything like Project Phantasm. All ships, maintain position, Sarah broadcast to the fleet. Remember your training. When the field reaches full strength, you'll experience momentary disorientation. Don't fight it. In Deep Point 7, James watched as the energy readings climbed. The phase shift field was designed to make Earth's fleet appear to be destroyed while actually shifting them into a parallel phase state. Present but undetectable, able to observe but not interact with normal spacetime until the field was deactivated. Field at 60%, Yuki called out. Quantum stability holding at acceptable levels. The harvester fleet drew closer, their ships moving into precise firing positions. Their sensors would be detecting the energy buildup, but according to their calculations, it would be interpreted as a desperate attempt at generating a conventional shield. They would be expecting it to fail. 75%, James announced, his voice tense. Entanglement matrix is green across all nodes. On the Defiance Bridge, Sarah watched as the first harvester ships came into weapons range. Her tactical display showed their weapon systems powering up, preparing to deliver what they believed would be a decisive first strike. 85%, Kexri reported, its skin pulsing with patterns that reflected both fear and hope. They're targeting our primary power nodes, exactly as we predicted. All ships, stand firm, Sarah broadcast. Trust in the field. Trust in each other. The first harvester shots lanced out, streams of exotic particles designed to shred matter at the atomic level. At that exact moment, James's voice came through the quantum comm. Field at 100%. Phase shift initiating. Reality seemed to blur around them. Sarah felt as if she was simultaneously everywhere and nowhere, her consciousness stretched across dimensions she couldn't comprehend. Through the distortion, she watched as the harvester weapons passed through the space where Earth's fleet had been moments before. From the harvester's perspective, It would appear as if their weapons had completely annihilated Earth's defenders. Their sensors would detect the expected debris field, the radiation signatures, everything their calculations said should be there. But it would all be carefully crafted illusions, projected by the phase shift field's interaction with normal spacetime. Phase shift complete, James reported, his voice filled with wonder. All ships are successfully shifted. We're actually doing it. Sarah looked around her bridge. Everything appeared normal, but she knew they were now operating in a state of reality that the harvesters couldn't detect or comprehend. Her crew worked their stations with focused determination, monitoring the harvester fleet through sensors that could pierce the dimensional barrier. "Begin recording their attack patterns," she ordered. "Every piece of data we gather now will be crucial when we strike back." The harvester fleet moved into orbit around Earth, their sensors detecting exactly what they expected to find: a defeated civilization, its pathetic attempts at resistance crushed. They would begin their standard resource extraction procedures, never suspecting that Earth's entire fleet was watching their every move, learning their weaknesses, preparing for a counterattack that would shatter their mathematical certainty. In Deep Point 7, James allowed himself a small smile as he monitored the phase shift field stability. "You know what the best part is," he said to no one in particular. "They're so certain of their calculations, they won't even look for anomalies. They'll assume everything is proceeding according to their models." Sarah watched as the harvester ships began their methodical deployment around Earth. "And that assumption," she said quietly, "will be their downfall." The harvester machines descended on Earth like a metallic rain. Their resource extraction vessels, each the size of a small city, positioned themselves at strategic points around the globe. From humanity's phase-shifted perspective, watching their world appear to be invaded while being unable to immediately react was an exercise in collective restraint. Commander Sarah Way stood on the Defiance Bridge, her hands clenched behind her back, as she watched the harvesters begin their standard procedures. The phase shift field rendered her fleet invisible to normal spacetime, but it also meant they had to wait for the perfect moment to strike. "They're deploying their primary extraction arrays," Kexry reported, its bioluminescence pulsing with controlled anger, "just as they did on my world. They'll begin with the outer crust, methodically working their way down." Deep beneath the Pacific, Dr. James Chen and his team monitored the phase shift field stability while gathering crucial data about the harvester's technology. Every scan, every observation was another piece of the puzzle they needed to solve. "Their quantum signature is exactly what we predicted," Yuki announced, her eyes fixed on the stream of data. "The phase shift field makes their computational blind spots obvious. They literally cannot perceive anything that doesn't fit their models." The harvester machines began their work, their massive drilling apparatus preparing to bore into Earth's crust. To their sensors, the planet appeared defenseless, its population cowering in fear, just another civilization to be processed and consumed. But Earth was far from defenseless. Hidden in the dimensional shadows, humanity's fleet was undergoing a transformation. The phase shift field had an unexpected side effect. It allowed them to observe and analyze harvester technology from angles that should have been impossible. "Look at this," James called out, his voice excited despite the grim situation. "Their quantum computational matrix. It's rigid, absolutely rigid. They're so advanced they've become trapped by their own perfection. They can't adapt to anything truly novel because they've optimized themselves into a corner." Sarah received the data on her bridge display, a slow smile spreading across her face. "They're like a chess computer that's memorized every possible game," she mused. "Unbeatable if you play by their rules, but completely vulnerable if you change the game entirely." The next 48 hours were crucial. While the harvesters methodically set up their extraction operations, humanity's scientists and engineers worked frantically to modify their weapons based on their new understanding of harvester technology. "Their computational rigidity is their weakness," James explained during an emergency briefing. "Every system, every response is based on perfect mathematical models. But those models can't account for weapons fired from a phase-shifted state. The physics simply don't compute in their framework. In orbital shipyards that existed slightly out of sync with normal spacetime, Earth's fleet was being modified. New weapons were installed, systems reconfigured to take advantage of the phase shift effect. The refugees' technical knowledge, combined with humanity's talent for innovative thinking, produced capabilities that would have been impossible just months before. "We're seeing something remarkable," Yuki reported during one analysis session. "The phase shift field isn't just hiding us. It's allowing us to operate outside their mathematical models entirely. When we strike, their predictive algorithms will fail completely." But timing would be everything. The harvesters had to be allowed to fully commit to their extraction operations, to be absolutely certain in their victory. Only then would their computational rigidity become a fatal weakness. Sarah spent hours studying the harvester operations, watching how their ships moved with perfect, soulless efficiency. "They're like a virus," she observed to Kexri. "Perfect at what they do, but utterly incapable of dealing with something truly new." "That was always their strength," Kexri replied, its skin patterns showing a complex mix of emotions. "They evolved beyond the need for adaptation because they believed they had achieved perfection. No biological species could match their computational power, their technological superiority." "But that's just it," Sarah said, watching as another harvester extraction ship moved into position. "They stopped evolving. We haven't." In Deep Point 7, James and his team made the final modifications to the phase shift field generators. They had discovered that by carefully manipulating the field's frequency, they could create quantum shadows, areas where harvester systems would experience total computational failure. "We're not just going to fight them," James explained to the United Earth Defense Council. "We're going to introduce chaos into their perfect order. When we strike, it won't just be a surprise. It will be something their entire worldview says is impossible." As the harvesters began their first test extractions, humanity's hidden fleet completed its preparations. Weapons were armed, crews were ready, and the phase shift field hummed with potential energy. They would only get one chance at this, but as Sarah reminded her crew, humanity had a long history of making the impossible possible. "All ships, final systems check," she broadcast through the quantum comm network. "Remember, when we deactivate the phase shift field, we'll have exactly 2.3 seconds before their systems can begin to adapt. Make every shot count." The countdown began. In less than 24 hours, humanity would reveal that its apparent defeat had been the greatest deception in galactic history. The harvesters were about to learn that perfection had a price, the inability to comprehend imperfection. 0 hour arrived with the silence of quantum precision. The harvester fleet hung in Earth orbit, their massive extraction ships positioned like geometric vultures over every major continent. Their sensors showed exactly what they expected: a defeated world awaiting processing, its pathetic military resistance already eliminated. In the phase-shifted realm, Commander Sarah Way took a deep breath. "All ships, battle stations, prepare for field deactivation on my mark." Through the quantum network, she could feel the readiness of every crew member, their collective determination vibrating through the dimensional barrier. In Deep Point 7, Dr. James Chen's fingers flew across his console. Phase shift field harmonics aligned. Quantum shadow generators at full power. "We're ready, Commander." "Remember," Sarah broadcast to the fleet, "we hit them hard and fast. Their computational systems will attempt to adapt, but they can't process what they believe is impossible. Use that window of confusion." The harvester ships continued their methodical work, their AI cores processing billions of calculations per second, all based on perfect mathematical models that were about to be shattered. 3, 2, 1, mark. Reality flickered. For a fraction of a second, space itself seemed to hiccup as Earth's fleet phased back into normal spacetime. They appeared like ghosts materializing from nothing, emerging inside the harvesters' defensive formations, weapons already firing. The first shot struck home before the harvester ships could even register the impossible event occurring around them. Phase-shifted plasma torpedoes, their quantum signatures scrambled by the transition, passed straight through harvester shields that had been calibrated for normal space weapons. Direct hits across all primary targets. Yuki's voice rang through the command network. Their computational cores are showing cascade failures. The harvester fleet's perfect formation dissolved into chaos. Their sensor systems, unable to process the quantum shadows being generated by Earth's ships, reported conflicting data that their AI cores couldn't reconcile. Ships fired at phantom targets, their perfect targeting systems thrown into confusion by weapons that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Push the advantage, Sarah ordered as the Defiant dove through the disorganized harvester formation. Don't let them establish new computational models. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries to come. Human ships, using technology that blended refugee knowledge with Earth innovation, danced through the harvester fleet like vengeful spirits. Each shot, each maneuver was calculated to further confuse and disrupt the machine empire's rigid systems. Kexri watched in amazement as the harvester ships, renowned across the galaxy for their computational perfection, began to display something unprecedented: confusion. They're trying to adapt, it reported, skin pulsing with excitement. But their core programming can't handle the quantum irregularities we're generating. They're literally fighting their own algorithms. In Deep Point 7, James monitored the quantum shadow effect's impact on harvester systems. Their computational cores are trapped in recursive loops, he announced. They keep trying to resolve the quantum paradoxes we're creating, but their models can't account for our tech. It's like we're giving a calculator an infinity symbol. The battle spread across Earth orbit as more harvester ships arrived from the outer system, drawn by automated distress calls. But each new arrival only added to the chaos, their rigid systems falling prey to the same quantum disruption that was unraveling their fleet's cohesion. Target their command and control nodes, Sarah ordered as the Defiant executed a maneuver that should have been physically impossible, its quantum-enhanced engines leaving trails of probability waves in normal space. Without their network coordination, they're just individual machines. The harvester ships began to show signs of systematic failure. Their perfect formations broke down completely as individual vessels, unable to reconcile their sensor data with their core programming, defaulted to increasingly primitive response patterns. "Look at this," Yuki called out, her voice filled with wonder. They're trying to rewrite their core algorithms on the fly, but they can't process the changes fast enough. Their own perfection is becoming their prison. The turning point came 3 hours into the battle. A massive harvester command ship, attempting to coordinate a counterattack, suffered a complete computational collapse when faced with multiple quantum shadows. The massive vessel's systems, unable to process the paradoxes being forced upon them, shut down entirely. "All ships, concentrate fire," Sarah ordered. "Don't let them recover." The combined fire of Earth's fleet, their weapons enhanced by phase shift technology, tore through the disabled command ship. The explosion, when it came, rippled through both normal space and the quantum realm, creating a cascade of failures through the harvester network. "Their network is collapsing," James reported excitedly. "The quantum disruption is spreading through their entire command structure. They can't maintain computational coherence." One by one, harvester ships began to shut down, their perfect systems paralyzed by calculations they couldn't complete. Some attempted to retreat, but their navigation systems, compromised by quantum shadows, sent them on random vectors into deep space. As the last active harvester ships fled or fell silent, a cheer went up through Earth's fleet. They had done the impossible. They had defeated an enemy that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but by thinking outside the mathematical box that the harvesters had built for themselves. Sarah stood on her bridge, watching as cleanup operations began. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "The harvesters are defeated. Humanity stands." 1 year after the Battle of Earth, The galaxy was a very different place. The defeat of the Harvesters had sent shockwaves through known space, as news spread of how a supposedly primitive world had accomplished what ancient civilizations could not. Commander Sarah Way, now Admiral Way, stood at a podium in the newly constructed Galactic Assembly on Earth. Before her sat representatives from over 300 civilizations, some attending in person, others present via quantum hologram. The chamber itself was a testament to humanity's new role in the galaxy, a perfect blend of Earth architecture and alien engineering. The defeat of the Harvesters wasn't just a victory for Earth, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. It was proof that perfection can be a weakness, and that adaptation, the very messiness of biological evolution that they sought to eliminate, is our greatest strength. In the years since the battle, humanity had worked tirelessly alongside their refugee allies to share their phase-shift technology with other worlds. Dr. James Chen had become a legendary figure among alien scientists, his theories about quantum shadows revolutionizing their understanding of reality itself. The Harvester threat taught us something crucial, James explained to a group of xenophysicists during a symposium in Geneva. The universe isn't just stranger than we imagine. It's stranger than we can imagine. And that's exactly why we need to maintain our capacity for imagination. The recovered Harvester ships had provided a wealth of technological knowledge, but more importantly, they had offered insight into the dangers of pursuing perfection at the cost of adaptability. In laboratories across Earth, human and alien scientists worked together to develop new technologies that embraced uncertainty rather than trying to eliminate it. Kexry, now serving as the head of the new Galactic Defense Initiative, worked closely with Earth's military to implement these lessons, what humans call thinking outside the box. It explained to a class of alien military officers, its bioluminescence displaying patterns of wisdom, we now understand as a crucial survival trait. The ability to conceive of solutions that seem impossible is perhaps the greatest defense against threats we cannot predict. The refugee species who had first brought warning of the Harvesters had chosen to make Earth their new home, their knowledge and culture enriching humanity's own. Cities around the world now featured architecture that blended multiple species' aesthetics and needs, creating new forms of beauty that would have been impossible before. Deep Point 7 had been transformed into the Galactic Science Academy, its facilities expanded to accommodate researchers from across known space. The quantum communications network, once used by the ancient civilizations to warn of the Harvesters, now served as the backbone of a new era of interstellar cooperation. But our greatest achievement, Sarah continued in her address, wasn't the technology we developed or the battle we won. It was proving that diversity, of thought, of culture, of biology itself, isn't a weakness to be eliminated, but the source of our greatest strength. The remaining Harvester ships, those that had survived the battle, had fled to the galaxy's outer rim. Their perfect mathematical models shattered, their rigid certainty broken, they had become a cautionary tale rather than a terror. Monitoring stations kept watch, but the machine empire that had once seemed invincible had been reduced to a fraction of its former power. In orbit above Earth, the UES Defiant had been transformed into a museum ship, a reminder of the battle that had changed everything. Visitors from across the galaxy came to see where humanity had proven that impossible was just another problem to be solved. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, leading a team developing the next generation of quantum technologies, perhaps summed it up best during a presentation to the World Science Council. The Harvesters sought to eliminate chaos from the universe, to impose perfect order. But we've learned that the universe itself thrives on uncertainty, on the endless dance between order and chaos. Our job isn't to eliminate that dance, but to learn new steps. As the galaxy entered a new age of exploration and discovery, Earth had become more than just another world. It had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that even the most insurmountable odds could be overcome with innovation, cooperation, and the courage to imagine the impossible. Sarah concluded her address with words that would be remembered for generations. The stars are no longer a frontier to be feared, but a canvas for our shared imagination. We stand ready to face whatever challenges await us, not because we are perfect, but because we never will be. And that is our greatest strength. On screens across Earth and throughout the galaxy, beings of all species watched and listened, united in the understanding that a new chapter in galactic history had begun. The legacy of Terra wasn't just the defeat of an ancient enemy, it was the birth of a future where the impossible was just the beginning.